gouache in it because my last gouache palette has gone moldy. Paper towel. I'm going to traffic to go past before I start speaking. Hello creative souls and welcome to this week's video. This week I'm going to be talking to you about my Gouache Stay Wet palette, which is no longer wet and very dry and mouldy, and my new art toolkit palette, which I'm going to fill with fresh gouache ready to go out plein air painting. So some of you may recognise this little Stay Wet palette. I did a video about it last year, and I also recently filmed a short to say it hadn't gone mouldy after 8 or 9 months. Well, is it called a self-fulfilling prophecy? Because it's now gone mouldy. So I opened it up and obviously the air has got to it, but the palette looks like this. So it comes in the water pot, which is really handy for when you go out painting. And when you open this up, it's got like a rubber membrane that goes over the top of the paints. And if I can get in a bit closer, you'll see that they've started to go mouldy. It's these at the bottom here, and I think it's that green there. So the culprits are, oh yeah, and that one, I don't know if you can see in there. Ooh, nasty. So I'm thinking this Stay Wet palette, it didn't work for me. I'm sure it works for many people, but it didn't work for me. The ones that have mainly gone mouldy, the first one to go mouldy was the designer gouache, the yellow green. That's Daler and Rowney. So I've got a new palette. I had to have a little think about how I was going to do this. So I'm going to share with you my new palette today. And if you see me reaching down, it's the same old story. So I've got this clicker that is never charged up, that connects to Bluetooth. So I'm sort of reaching down whilst it's charging up, but let me just click you off. So when I go out painting plein air, or when I go travelling, maybe go away for the weekend to Cornwall, which is going to be happening this weekend, or going on holiday, I really want to be able to take gouache with me, as well as my watercolours. And I've watched quite a few artists online. Sarah Burns is a really good artist to watch. She explains everything gouache, from brushes to palette to painting outside, all sorts of things. And she's got an amazing website as well. But lots of artists have been using these art toolkits. This one is from Rosemary Co, and it is literally the size of a credit card. So at the moment I'm obsessed with mini art kits, and my last video was obviously about a mini art kit. It needed to be small and compact, and when you open the lid you'll see that it is very small and compact. So let me turn this around. The bottom is magnetic, so these little what are they called, trays where you put your paint, can come out and you can arrange them any way you like. There's a small mixing palette here, and there's a mixing palette here. On the little card that came in the palette, it says, with a little tick next to it, open your new pocket palette. and it's got a list of other instructions, but that instruction is the only one with a tick on it. Now, I did watch Kate Moody's video on her new pocket palette, and she actually conditioned the magnet with, which is the base, with a light coat of vegetable oil. I probably won't do that if I'm perfectly honest. If I'm perfectly honest, I can't be bothered. Also, they say put a couple of drops of vegetable glycerine into your gouache or gouache to stop it from going mouldy. Is that right? Or does it keep it wet? Either way, I'm not sure now. But I've got vegetable glycerine here. And I don't know whether I'm going to bother, because, let me take a pan out and I'll explain why. These tiny, tiny pans are no bigger than my fingernail. So the paint is going to crack. The paint is not going to stay wet. I'm going to dry it out slowly. So for such a small pan, can I be bothered? I don't think I can. Now my art toolkit palette has arrived and I'm a little bit obsessed with mini art kits, I thought what I would do is do another mini art kit. The reason for that is I got this freebie whilst on holiday. It's what we know in England as a bum bag. I think in America they call them fanny packs. And I thought this would be great when I go out on a dog walk and I just want to grab my kit. I can put it around my waist and be able to hold the dog and be able to get into my bum bag. You gotta love a bum bag, right? So in my bum bag, this is what I'm going to put in. My toolkit and this tiny A6 Art Creations sketchbook, or I could fit in an A6 C. White's journal. I'm sorry if I keep squinting at the camera, but it's a really sunny afternoon and I've got light coming in all directions. And when I watch this back, I'm going to look at it and think, why am I squinting at the camera? That's why. I do apologise. I'm going to fit in a water brush. This one is my pointy one. However, I did get a Pentel water brush that is flat. I don't know what size this is. I think I went medium. But same concept. I didn't think it was flat for a second then. It was all stuck together. So I don't know if you can see that. A flat brush. And to be fair, I probably would have fit both of those in. I've got a Tombow Mono drawing pen. I've got a white Uni Posca, and I picked up this gorgeous little tin at the garden centre the other day, and I thought, you know what, I could probably fit in some Neocolour 2s in there if I break them up, and maybe some oil pastels, something like that, to layer over the top of my painting. So it's still going down the lines of mixed media, just on a very small scale. After watching a lot of Sarah Burns and looking at her website, I've tried to match the gouache that I had to the gouache that she recommends, as in the colours. These aren't necessarily the brands that she uses, although some of them she does. The one thing that I did track down was Buff Titanium by Daniel Smith. He is the only one that does Buff Titanium Gouache. So that was a good find. Quite expensive. I have got Winsor & Newton Ultramarine Blue. I have got, I think this is Holbein, yes, Holbein Artist Gouache, Cobalt Turquoise. I have got Ash Blue. I've got an Ash Green. Nice muted colours that I thought might be good for landscapes. And I've also got a Holbein Artist Moss Green. This is the only watercolour in the palette. I think Sarah Burns uses a lilac gouache, but I didn't have that. I had a Daniel Smith watercolour Wisteria, so I thought I'm going to give that a go. Then I've got my Holbein Schminky Gouache. I've got a lemon yellow. I have got a titanium gold ochre. I've got a burnt umber, an English red, and a Holbein rose, and then the Daniel Smith as well. So I've got 12 colours that will fit in the 12 pans. I think what I'm going to do as well is swatch those colours out in my Talon's Art Creation sketchbook. So that's the pans filled up. It's quite fiddly, as you can see. I've sort of managed to get it everywhere, but that's okay because it's gouache and water-based. That will soon wipe off, it's not a problem. I'm going to leave this overnight and probably for the next 48 hours just to let it dry, because if you put that in there and then obviously pop it into your bag, it's just going to slide on out. And this isn't a stay wet palette, this will be a dry gouache palette. The other thing I did forget to say is these are interchangeable. You get different sizes. You can have as many colours in there as you like, depending on whether you go for the tiny pans, the long thin pans, or the square pans. You can arrange it however you like. And actually you don't necessarily need that mixing palette. You could buy some extra pans and put those in, so you can have it any way you like, because actually this is a mixing area. I might swap this mixing pan for 2 more squares. I've also noticed that these squares, or these pans, don't sit flush. There is a gap, and the gap is down here under this ridge. Lots of suggestions, and someone suggested putting a cocktail stick down there or a wooden skewer, because you can cut that wooden skewer to the size or the length that you want it, and then that slips down underneath that lip, which means your pans don't slip, if that makes sense. I'm sure it does. Oh, now that's stuck. So I'm just going to do some swatches in my little sketchbook. I'm going to use this Princeton Velvet Touch mini mop brush. This is an 1/8. I'm assuming I'm saying that right. It's quite a stubby little brush, but that should be ideal for dipping in and out of these pans. It's got very dark here. Pouring down with rain still. So I've turned all my lights on, so I hope you can see okay. But these are my swatches in not quite the first page. And these are the paints I used. All gouache apart from the Daniel Smith watercolour, which is Wisteria. I will leave the list in the description below. And because my palette is now going to take a couple of days to dry, I have put it on my palette here so you can see how it will be set up. Okay, so in this little tin, I'm going to choose some landscapey colours and put them in here. This is going to be a really hard task for me because I'm going to have to literally break some of my precious Neo Colour 2s in half. And I think it's going to have to be this one for starters. So there we go. I didn't like doing that. In we go. There's already a broken one in here. I don't know where the other half of that is, but that's going in. Van Dyke Brown in half. What's that one? Chromium Oxide Green, Urine. And then I have got my Faber-Castell oil pastels, which I also tested these out the other week for my budget sketchbook supplies, and I really like these, and they're quite hard, and that's probably a good thing to go into my little tin here. Swap that out for green. Oh, the pressure. Okay, so this week's Plein Air kit is even smaller than last week's, and this is going to be my Gouache Plein Air kit. So I've got my freebie bum bag here. It's got a couple of inside pockets, and it's got a pocket at the back here as well. And this is how I'm going to pack it. So this is my A6 sketchbook. This is my art toolkit. Hasn't got the pans in yet because they are still drying. I have got a little pot of Faber-Castell oil pastels and some Neo Colour 2s in a little tin. I have got my wristband that goes on the wrist like so. This was in last week's video, so when you're out painting you can wipe your water brush on there so you don't have to take paper towel. I'm going to put that in the little pocket there. I have got a clip that goes flat. I have got two water brushes at the moment, a flat one and a pointy one, but you won't need two. And I've got a white Posca pen. I've got my Micron pen size 10. I've got a Tombow Mono Zero eraser. Just checking I can still shut this. I've got my Tombow Mono drawing pen, and I have a freebie pencil as well. And so I will zip that up, and there we have it. A tiny plein air kit that can go round your waist or over your shoulder whilst you're out walking. Well, that brings us to the end of this week's video. Thank you for being here. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed, please hit that button and help this small channel grow. See you again next week. Thank you for watching.